podcast about comics. A podcast about comics.
Welcome back to another episode of A Podcast About Comics. This is your boy Tchallabp74 and my man
Katana.
For all you new listeners out there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Follow us on all with all incoming information, all rumors, confirmations, all stay up on all the latest pop culture things that's going on. So we have an interesting show for you guys today. It's called Wonder Woman 84. You know, the movie just dropped on Christmas. And we have our resident Wonder Woman in the house. I'm going to have her go ahead and introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Jenna Esposito.
Welcome to the Panther's Lair. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having
Katana,
me.
how are you feeling today, buddy?
I am doing very well. I've gotten some projects done around the house, and I am happy to represent the 1980s in my gear today.
I noticed. I check you out, man. Over there looking like Mr. Kumo D himself in the house. We have our resident Wonder Woman there with her Wonder Woman gear on. Looking awesome. Talk to us a little bit about that version of Wonder Woman that you're wearing right now.
This is my rebirth version because I just discovered today in getting ready for this that I have repurposed all of my Wonder Woman movie costumes. So this is my rebirth.
Nice. Way to represent. All right, so let's start off talking a little bit about the movies. There's a lot of things to cover, so we're gonna try to bang it out for you guys. So first of all, how did you feel about the movie, Jenna?
I cried just about every scene in the movie. I think the gentleman that was sitting next to me thought I was a lunatic. I don't know who he was, but he was probably not happy to be near me and my sobbing. I absolutely loved it. I loved every minute of it. I walked out of there. I went to the theater. I did see it in the theater. And I went home and subscribed to HBO Max so I could watch it again.
Nice. Katana, what about you? How did you feel about the movie?
I felt that for what it was, that it was a good film. And what I mean by for what it was, like there's this culture that the 80s has. And I felt that they captured that culture very well. And if you're looking for it to be, in my opinion, if you're looking for it to have the same kind of impact that the first Wonder Woman had, that's not what this was. So to me, this was a fun film and I enjoyed it as such.
Awesome. The movie threw me for a loop. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
I was one of those masses that went into it looking at it with 2020 eyes. And I was very confused, loved the character, loved the actress. There was certain elements of it that threw me, and I couldn't wrap my head around it, you know, certain tone of the movie and everything. Mm-hmm. And then I started thinking about it, and I talked to a few people about it. And I was like, I think everyone is looking at this movie wrong. And I said, you know what? I'm going to look at it with some 1984 eyes. So I went back the next time around, and I looked at it with some 1984 eyes. And I actually watched it 3 times. The second time is when I noticed that I need to look at it with a different set of eyes. Mm-hmm. The third time when I watched it, I looked at it with 1984 eyes. And what I saw was Patty Jenkins' level of genius in that. And by that, I say this. If you grew up in the 70s or 80s and you saw Linda Carter on the screen, her show, her Wonder Woman show, because that was the first depiction of Wonder Woman, any live action Wonder Woman, anything that we had seen at that point. And I remember the feeling I got when I saw that. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what we saw back then. It was just modernized for the time era in which we live in with different lens, whether it be, you know, the 4K stuff or the wideband stuff that they use when they filming. But everything from costumes, what they were wearing, attire, the campiness, the feel of the entire thing is something from the 1980s. And if you watch that show, you got the same feeling. What did you get that feeling, Jenna, when you first watched it?
Absolutely. All right, first of all, I want to say I was so afraid to do this because so many people hate this movie so much that I'm afraid to say I love it. And so I've put in a lot of thought as to why I loved it. And I think that when I watched it, and the first time I watched it in the theater, I was that little girl sitting in my living room watching Linda Carter again. And I was her, and I was in awe, and I guess maybe I had the maturity level at the time in my head that it didn't matter. Like, the only thing that mattered to me was looking at this goddess on the screen doing these things that I wish I could do.
That's interesting that you said that. But you definitely got that feeling, and I got that feeling. You know, I mean, growing up, besides Wonder Woman, you know, we had stuff like Greatest American Hero that we looked at. You know, and all these.
But the problem with
things,
Greatest American Hero, even as a kid, that he was so clumsy and goofy, and I was like, he wasn't the hero that I was looking for.
He didn't exemplify what we know a hero to really be.
Yeah.
It was like this guy who goofs his way in and saves the day goofily and goof out.
Yes.
You know, and you never got that when you saw Linda Carter on the screen. You know, whether it was with her lasso or you know, throwing her tiara or spinning into her costume and then spinning again, and then she ends up in her aquatic attire. Like all that feeling that you got. Same thing, similar to this. Yeah. And I honestly and truly, the third time around when I watched it with those set of eyes, like I was like, oh my goodness, Patty Jenkins is a genius. But I think what happened is the world was looking at it with 2020 eyes, and you can't do that with this kind of movie.
Yep.
First thing out, it was a period movie.
Well, and just when you look at the look, the feel, the energy, the graphics, you know, the cinematography, it just screamed 80s. You know, and again, the people during that time, they behaved a certain way. And Mac's lore was like what people were about back then, trying to be like a self-made man, you know, trying to accomplish something. But the thing is, there's this part in the beginning of the film where they're doing those Olympic Games, and Diana has to learn about what the cost is of taking a shortcut. And if you pay attention, that theme goes throughout the movie. And so
it sets the movie up.
Right. From Max to what's the one that plays Cheetah? What's her character's name?
Barbara.
Kristen?
Barbara. Right.
Oh.
So Barbara took the short path, didn't want to give it up. Same thing with Max. And there's a huge cost to that. And to some degree, Diana does too, but she realizes that that's not what she is about. You know, like it's not, the cost was too much for her. So
it's the simple words that her mom says to her.
Yeah.
You know, her mom is like, you have to be honest and truthful with yourself. And it's okay if you're not ready.
Right.
But you can't cheat your way to victory.
Right.
Yep. There's something that stuck out with me, right? Antiope. Am I saying it right? Antiope. How do you say it, Jenna? I said it right?
Antiope. I said it right.
She said something to Diana. She says, greatness is not what you think it is. You remember when she said that to her? People are drunk with power, but it doesn't make them great. What makes them great is the deeds and the sacrifices that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, she makes the ultimate sacrifice. And it's in that moment where she takes back her wish, and you can see her like struggling with it. And he's like, I'll always be with you, or you'll always be with me, or I always love you, or whatever. And she's like shrugging it off, and she's struggling, and she's like, I rescind my wish, or whatever, you know. Right. And it's in that moment where she is now great, or you see her rise to greatness.
I don't know. Gal did so much better this time, I think. Like, I felt every heartache that she was feeling 100 times more.
Yeah. Let me ask you something though. Do you think because it was her second time around as an actress in this role, or actually it wasn't? It was what, her third time, right? Or fourth? Fourth. Fourth. Yeah. Because she did Batman v Superman. She did what? Justice League next? No, her movie next, then Justice League, and then Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
So like, go ahead, Jenna.
In a way, like, and I guess I've always felt this way myself, is that I always looked up to Wonder Woman, like this icon, this goddess that I will never be. But in this movie, I felt all of her feelings and I knew where she was coming from. So it's like she got more emotions this time that were human and not just being a perfect icon.
Well, I mean, she's been hurting since he died.
For
Yeah,
60
so
years.
she's been like, she might as well have been mourning the loss of this man since that time, because she is living an isolated life. Yeah, she goes on the street and does her thing, but overall, she's just living in isolation. And you know, you can't tell me that someone, when you care so much about someone, you lose them and you don't get a real I won't say resolution, but if you don't really come to terms with that loss, then you kind of see the behaviors that Diana that she does during this movie before, you know, everything hits the fan.
Do you think, like, okay, someone like you, Katana, who has a lot of background in mental illness and the way how the brain operates and how people process things.
Yeah.
Was she more relatable in the midst of her vulnerability?
Well, first of all, if you have to see the first movie just to realize why she's being the way she's being, right?
Yeah.
And then when she realizes that well, first of all, when she says that she knew what she would wish for, and then it actually comes true, and then she has to realize that she has to give that back, and she's like, this is the only thing that I've ever wanted. Yeah, this is it. Like, I haven't asked for much, but this is the only thing that I ever wanted, and why do I have to be the one to give it up? You know, so you know, it just goes to show how deep the pain was that she was feeling. So as far as being more relatable, yeah, of course she's more relatable, because I think we all know what it's like to lose someone unexpectedly and how much that can hurt. And I mean, it's not that it was unexpected when he died, but she wasn't ready for him to go right then. She wasn't ready for him to sacrifice himself in that film.
No, she wasn't. If you look at this movie, when you're talking about comic versus reality, did you get a clean comparison as far as story arcs? Let's start with Jenna.
I don't really understand the question.
Growing up, you said you've been a Wonder Woman fan. So growing up as a kid, did you like seeing this story of Barbara and you know, becoming Cheetah and then clashing with Diana? What do you think the comparison was like?
Well, I mean, the way Barbara became Cheetah is totally different in any other comparison.
Okay, explain for me, and then I'm gonna rebut.
Well, I mean, some of the things they did different, but I'm totally okay with how they changed them. And, you know, comic books change their stories every 3 months about how people get whatever powers or whatever the story is. I don't know. I do feel like that the movie was missing more Cheetah. And maybe she could have been the only villain, but I guess that's another story. I don't know.
Well, Max Lord is also in the books too, and you know, I mean, they changed it up a little bit. But if you have a story that's 100% spot on, then everybody knows what's going to happen. Right. So you know, you have to doctor it up and change it in some way, shape, or form. How did you feel about the backlash of the masses not liking the movie?
About the what?
The mass population that have seen this movie. There's been a lot of negative backlash.
Oh my gosh, like it's like, it's 2020, how it is. It's like, if you see a post, just don't read the comments, Jenna. Just do not read the comments. And I need to stop reading comments. It's like, it breaks my heart. Like, this is my one true love, and it's breaking my heart that everyone is tearing it apart. And
well, let me ask you this, Jenna.
I just don't get it.
Let me ask you this, because I mean, clearly you are biased, and right, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm absolutely.
Is there anything about this film that you can look at with an objective eye and say that there's some validity to any of the arguments? And keep in mind, I don't know what people are saying about the film because I don't really go into like the reviews of other people very much. So I just heard that the overall tone is on the negative side. So is there anything in the film that you could look at objectively and say that it probably that they have a legitimate gripe about any particular part of this film?
Like, the one thing that the Max Lord wish story part, there's some things that I still don't understand what the heck happened. The whole the ending, the finale, the glowy tube thing he was standing in, and you're touching people with particles. I don't know, but I don't care. Like, it didn't. I just went with it. Just go with it. And I would have changed that a little bit, the story.
T'Challa BP74? Same question.
There was some elements I didn't like. And I think the reason why was, I think because there were things that, you know, whenever you're doing a movie, there's certain things that make the cut and doesn't make the cut, because they have to reduce it enough to, you know, when they put it up, you know, the screen time and so on and so on. So I believe if they were to release let's say an uncut version or added features, those holes that were in there that were noticeable could be plugged a lot better. It was like the way how Justice League was. The first time, I'm sorry, not Batman versus Superman. When Batman vs Superman dropped, you know, everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, it's so horrible," and then they released the uncut version, and I'm sorry, the edited version. Justice League Snyder cut is what's coming, but this is the Batman versus Superman. This is when you got to see, Lex down in the water with Steppenwolf and so on and so on, and people didn't really get it, you know, and you had a lot of people who saw the extended cut was like, it was better after I saw the extended cut. And I think the extended cut in this situation would fill in a lot of those holes. I believe certain things got cut. For instance, and I have to go back to this because this is ground zero for me. When Black Panther first dropped, you know, I wanted to see the 4-hour uncut version. Never got it, but there was so many things that was taken out of that was so crucial. And as much as I love the Black Panther movie, I'm like, why did you take that part out? Why did you take that part out? You know, the scene where he's talking to Zuri about his dad, you know, and about, you know, choices that his dad made and so on and so on. Then there's that scene with Okoye and Wakabi. Important scenes like that. And I believe in Wonder Woman 84, there are scenes like that it just never made it onto the block. And it got chopped before it got there. And because of that, they have these noticeable holes. Like, for instance, there's a scene where Max Lord is like giving back his wish. And he goes from standing in the room to the White House lawn in like seconds. And I'm like, whoa, that's too quick. Like, where did he come from? How did he get there that fast? You know, or Barbara Benova turning back into that human, you know, and it's like, wait a minute, she didn't want to give back her wish. How did she become human like that? Because in the books, when she becomes that apex predator, which we all know with the leopard and spots and tails and all that, she never really reverts back. At least I never read a book where she reverts back. What about you, Jenna? Have you ever read?
No. No, I'm pretty sure she
stays that way.
Stays that way.
But I think, go ahead.
But Yeah.
No, Jenna, you can go ahead.
I don't know. Oh, as I was watching the movie, I was thinking to myself, oh, they're going to love that. Oh, they're not going to like that. Oh, they're going to love that. Oh, they're not going to like that. And then after a couple days of reading, everyone was tearing every little thing apart, everything, like even things that I thought they would love, like the whole beginning. Like, how can you find fault in that? Like,
yeah, I mean, I agree
was perfect.
That first scene when they do the games, I mean, it was just so well done. From the events to the approach that the young actress took, it was good. I had nothing. I had nothing to knock about that. I thought it was a great way to start off a movie too.
And then the whole mall scene. I mean, I've seen a complaint about every single minute second of the entire movie. So I don't know.
Again, though, I feel like people was not watching it with the 1984 eyes. When you watch Linda Carter be Wonder Woman, is exactly what we saw Gal do in this movie. Mm-hmm. And again, those movies were filmed around the same time, so they had the same feel.
I mean, she fought a guy in a gorilla costume, so yeah. I don't know how much campier it could be.
It was specifically made to be campy. You know, it's called 1984.
Right. Yeah. And that's what it was like back in those days.
Yeah. Yeah. But we are living in a time frame where everything you say on the internet or everything that happens, everybody's so easily offended. Yes. You can't do or say anything without somebody being offended, or you violating somebody's rights, or, oh, well, I didn't like the way you made me feel and I have the right, blah, 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 blah. It's always something that somebody's overly, they feel like you violated them or you said something. For instance, I remember getting into a heavy debate with somebody about the scene where there's a scene, not in this movie, it's okay. Thor is talking to a few people on the helicarrier and he's like, I don't care how you talk about Loki, he's my brother. And I think Black Widow says something about him killing 86 people in 24 hours. And she says, Thor says, he's adopted.
He's adopted.
And the adoption, whatever they have here in the country, was just up in arms because he made that little pun.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He made some little joke about him being adopted. All of a sudden, he's horrible for saying that. And people can be adopted. And all of a sudden, you offended anyone who was adopted or anyone who wanted to adopt folks. And I'm like, guys, come on.
Well, not only that, though, he really is adopted.
On that note, I have heard multiple times how Steve, the guy that he took his body, has been raped.
Yes, I was going to get on that next. There's been a lot of things floating around that the gentleman was brain raped. And I'm like, okay.
Who? What?
Yeah.
The handsome guy is his name in the credits, that Steve took over his body in his apartment. Diana had sex with his body without consent.
Oh my God. Are we going that deep? That's how deep we're going in 2021?
Yes.
Listen.
We are.
I am surprised that there's not a movement talking about this guy as a part of the Me Too movement.
Right.
Because that's the only thing next to come. Everything is just so, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that going around. What do you guys think about the Invisible Jet? How the Invisible Jet was executed, how they brought it to life?
I don't know if people dock this. I'm sorry. I really need to be like the ladies first. So Wonder Woman, please go.
Jenna, are you getting emotional at me talking about the Invisible Jet?
Oh my God. I don't know. I haven't quite decided if I really like how it became invisible yet. Is I don't know about that power, but it was kind of funny with the mug and she lost it. So another place where I just went with it, and because when that jet became invisible, Oh my goodness. I almost died there right on the floor. And honestly, I could have watched them fly around an invisible jet for 3 hours. It was extraordinary. That and her flying. I could have watched both of those things.
I was gonna get to her flying next. For me, with the invisible jet, I love the fact that we got an invisible jet. The way how they,
the other thing was, not to cut you off, but the other thing was that I absolutely loved that I walked into the theater having absolutely no clue that it was going to happen.
Okay.
Like they didn't spoil it.
I knew it was coming. I just didn't know how we were going to get it. I did have a problem with her and those abilities.
Right.
Because I'm like, okay, as she's being Wonder Woman, is these abilities manifesting?
So you would have preferred that you'd prefer the invisible jet be something that's not manifested directly from Diana.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, which one of the gods gave her the jet? I think it was, which was the goddess of war or the goddess of Athena? Wasn't it Athena? It was Athena that gave her the jet, yeah, right?
You know, I figured that it probably wasn't how she really got her invisible jet. I am not going to claim to know a whole lot about Wonder Woman, but I also feel like that's similar to what they did with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film, where they basically made the webbing a part of his biology as opposed to being something, the web shooters that he designed.
Yeah. And anybody who read the comics known that he made his web shooters.
Yeah, you know that he makes it.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me too much, but I actually did kind of enjoy it. And I like the fact that it came as a result of being under duress, which is similar to how mutants get their powers, is usually like some type of stressor that causes their mutant ability to come out. So, you know, it didn't bother me one bit about how they did the invisible jet.
Jenna, do you remember?
Jenna, I just cheated and I looked up how it was created. And actually, according to Wikipedia, it says it was created by Diana during her younger years on Paradise Island.
Okay.
She created it to be an improvement on her mother's planes, which would be shot down in Man's World.
Okay. Do you remember it was an animated movie, Crisis on Two Earths?
No.
Jenna, you don't remember that?
I don't think no.
Okay.
Crisis on Two Earths?
Yeah. Crisis. Is it Crisis? Yeah, it's the one where Batman and Owlman have to fight and Batman outsmarts him.
Oh, 2020. No, I never saw
it's I don't think it's not a 2020 film. It's back maybe 2013, 2010, somewhere between 2010 to 2015.
I mean, yes, no, I'm sorry. 2010. Yeah. I saw 2010 and I read it as 2020.
The way how they do that, they take a military plane and they go up. The military plane had cloaks. And apparently these other villains on this other Earth hit the sky with lightning and they shorted it out. And because they shorted out the retroflective panels that makes the jet go stealth or invisible, the jet stayed invisible. And Diana ended up keeping the jet, and that's how she got her invisible jet. Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I'm sure there have been 60,000 different ways that jet became correct.
Now, for me, it wasn't her invisible jet. It was the fact that she flew. That was what I liked, because I have always known her to fly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Linda Carter did it, she didn't fly.
She didn't fly.
Yeah, she had a jet and she leaped, and that was it. In this one, she actually flies, and I really appreciate it. Patty Jenkins giving us that, especially with how to make it relative. Like, you know, talking to Steve about how he's flying.
Oh, and that was perfect. I thought that
because you hear his voice talking to her, guiding her along it. You know,
right. And she was. You know, he taught her how to fly.
Yeah, I thought it was well executed at that part. That was the thing for me that sold me on it. You know?
Although I've heard multiple times, you know, how come she can fly there, but she couldn't fly in Justice League?
In which
so.
in the Justice League movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's one of those. That's
a valid one, right? That's a valid point. Yeah.
But she doesn't fly in Batman versus Superman or Justice League, and
Right.
those are supposed to be after.
Right. So she should have been able to fly in those.
Yeah.
But you know, just because Zack Snyder screwed it up doesn't mean
no, that wouldn't
that we had to continually
that wouldn't be
screw it
Zack
up.
Snyder. That would be what is his name?
Why Zack Snyder's coming up?
Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon.
Yeah. Well, neither one of them. She made her fly.
Yeah. You know, do you think that the Josh Whedon uncut is gonna redeem Snyder?
No, it's Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah. Do you think it's gonna redeem Snyder? Is what I'm asking.
I think it's gonna redeem the movie? No, because
not the movie. Redeem him as a director. Because listen, Snyder got a lot of crap on him after BVS now.
I don't know. Nobody likes anything. So I don't, you know, everybody's just cranky and they hate everything. And nobody's ever going to be happy.
It.
So
I want to see it. I want to see
it.
I want to see Darkseid. I want to see what, you know.
I liked Justice League, but like I told you earlier, apparently I'm just easily entertained because I really there's no movie that I can think of that I don't like. There's one.
Yeah, I can't say that me and you are. Yeah, I think
I mean, you're heavily biased. That's all. You're
I don't think she's biased though. I think she just is okay with whatever she gets because she loves it so much.
Yeah,
it's a difference.
That's what bias looks like to me.
Well, not necessarily, because
it's not. I'm not just talking about Wonder Woman, and I'm not just talking about DC either. There's nothing I.
I've never heard you say anything bad about anything. Now you've been like, "Hey, I don't understand this. Explain this," and I try to, but you've never said you dislike something. From Batman versus Superman to Suicide Squad to you name it, anything and everything, you'd be like, oh man, I thought it was awesome. I got to see that, yay. I can't say that for me.
Yeah, I remember, you know, it wasn't even like 5 years ago that, no, maybe, I remember seeing a meme with Rocket. And I was like, oh, we can have a talking raccoon, but people aren't ready for a female superhero. And now we get it, and we get I get everything I ever wanted in movies, finally.
Yeah.
You know, after I'm only 25 now. So, it took a long time for me to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, now you can do anything, you know, whether it's computer, animated, CGI, whatever, you can do anything. So, and again, it's just people just being disgruntled about any and everything. I do want to talk about the golden armor. Because I'm going to tell you some things I like and some things that I despise. I'm going to grind my gears a little bit. What was your take on the golden armor, Jenna?
Okay. It wasn't on there long enough.
Okay.
I don't know. That's it. I like the armor. I love it. I want it, but I don't want to make it.
My issue with the golden armor is that for it to take the beating it took back in the day, Cheetah was making short work of it.
Right.
She was shredding it, and I didn't understand. That was my problem too.
There was 30 men surrounding Asteria with swords,
and trying to plunge swords and couldn't ding it. And she just come in and claw it a few times in pieces.
Yeah.
To the point. Yeah.
But is that because she's Cheetah and kind of has magical powers?
But even still, I don't think she should be able to do that level of damage.
Even if she has magical powers, even if she had these guys was hitting it with swords.
Yeah.
And not scratching it at all. And
meanwhile, Cheetah's making short work of it.
She's pulling off pieces of it to the point that when Diana shakes it off, she shakes it off and you see the damaged piece with the wings as it's falling.
Right.
I'm like, it wasn't that strong.
Right.
Right.
I would have loved to see it longer. I would have loved to see it do some cool things. I would have loved to see her fight with it. I don't think that she actually fought with it.
No, she just played defense.
Just defense. I would have liked for her. I would have liked for her to like pop her wing, cut some things, and do some awesome martial arts stuff in her wings.
Right.
You know.
But can you imagine trying to fight in wings?
I don't know, man. I've seen people fight in wings a few times.
Yeah, but you know how hard it is even walk in a cosplay.
Yeah,
Never mind fight.
Yeah. Oh, I know how hard it is to walk in a cosplay, much less. Oh yeah, I know for certain. Do you think that they executed the armor properly?
I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, and how to update it to the modern world.
When they did the flashback, did you pay attention to that, like in a part of her face,
the
and
eyes.
saw Linda Carter?
I was looking at her eyes.
Yeah.
Her
like
blue
I saw
eyes.
it and I was like, that's Linda Carter. That's Linda Carter. That's Linda Carter.
I didn't put two and two together, right? And I didn't put two and two together at the end either. I was just like, oh, the angels are singing at the end. And I didn't realize who she was until I went home and thought about it.
Did the sky open up and a ray of sunshine came down?
Yeah.
Did you hear the angels?
Yeah, that's all.
Listen, yes. I thought about you. I thought about you a lot during that movie.
And I'm sad because somebody messaged me right before I went to see it, and they're like, make sure you stay to the end. You're going to love it. And I'm like, okay, well, now I figure Linda's going to show up at the end, because why else would they say I was going to love it? So I kind of knew, but I'm sad I knew.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it. And I've seen people complain about that. That wasn't put there for you. It was put there for me and people that have loved Linda Carter since they came out of the womb. Like, I'm sorry. When you complain about that part and the end, we have problems.
See, I think people who go into our favorite character movies, people like us, when we get the things we get that genuinely makes us happy, it makes us happy and we feel the way we feel. Other people don't go in it looking at it the way we do. For example, I remember in 2018 when I met Ryan, one of the things I said to him was, thank you for making that movie for me. Because I honestly felt like Ryan Coogler made the BP movie for me.
Right.
And only I can have the feeling that I have, just like you can have the feeling that you have. If you see Patty Jenkins, what would you do?
I mean, I would probably just stare at her, not say anything, like the idiot
you
that I
probably wouldn't. You probably start crying. I thought you were gonna cry when you took that photo with Linda Carter.
I didn't cry when
I thought you were going to. I really thought you were going to.
You were there.
No, but I thought you were going to, because I know you was gonna go and meet her, take your photo out. I know.
But I didn't say anything. I just stood there like an idiot and was like, oh.
And she told you that she liked what you were wearing.
Yes, she did. And then I was told, don't touch her. Don't keep your hands anywhere. Just put your hands in your lap and keep them there and don't move.
The handlers who were handling the sheet. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes. I wouldn't have done that. When we met Palpatine hugged all of us, shook all of our hands, told all of us thank you. Yeah, no. I got that nod of approval from my boy before he passed. May he rest in peace. But you gotta revel in that moment, man. Like, I would have not just be quiet. I would have been like, oh my God, I love you. I would have told her everything I needed to tell her, knowing how you felt about her too. Mm-hmm. Why?
I clam up and I don't say anything.
Listen, that is not Wonder Woman behavior, just so you know.
Well, that's because I'm just Jenna.
I'm sorry, man. I would have had to hug Patty a few times if I were you. I would. Because honestly, she made that movie for you. She made that movie for all the real, true lovers of Wonder Woman.
It's funny because I've kept track of who says what about the movie, and I would have to say, like, I'm in about 3 Wonder Woman collector groups, and the majority of them loved it. The nerdy friends that I have on my Facebook, every one of them absolutely hated it.
Because
and
you also have to keep it. You also have to keep in mind too, Jenna. Save that thought right there. You also have to keep in mind that some of your nerdy friends are just nerdy in the last decade, or nerdy in the last decade and a half. They haven't been grinding on that nerd level for the last 4 decades.
I'm not saying that.
I know you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but you got to be brutally honest. The reason why you loved it and they didn't is because they haven't been running with Wonder Woman for decades.
But you know what's interesting? That is a lot of my Muggle friends liked it.
Okay. I rest my case. I don't even have to continue with my point.
Right.
Katana, do you understand my point?
Oh yeah.
Could you have people, and I know some Wonder Womans that are our age and maybe a year or two younger, that's been running with Wonder Woman from Linda Carter. That's been running with Wonder Woman from her first few comics. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking back in the Silver Age comics. Those
if you
want to
be if you want to be a Wonder Woman fan, you got to put in a little bit of work.
Got to put in work. Because what female hero been around longer than Wonder Woman?
What, Spider-Man? Oh, you said female. No, female
superheroes.
No, I mean,
dude, she's the first female heroine ever.
I think she was made in what? I think she was created in the 70s.
Jenna, when was it that she came out? We know.
No, it was
way before that. Way before that. Yeah.
Well, I know the original creator of Wonder Woman was the same one.
40s.
Was the same one, Ralph Marston, who created like the lie detector test.
Also.
So was that the 60s, the 50s? When was that?
I think he created Wonder Woman if I'm not mistaken, in the 50s. Because Jenna, didn't you guys like a few years back had like a 75-year anniversary or something?
Wonder Woman first appeared in All-Star Comics in 1940.
Okay.
Bam.
So 40s. Yeah.
Bam. You see what I'm saying?
But what was your question?
No, we were talking about like, how long she been around. She was the first female superhero to grace the pages.
Right.
Yeah. Well, she was first a secretary.
Hey, look, bottom line is you can't be coming up here and talking about you're a Wonder Woman fan if you haven't like really put in some time and energy.
You gotta put in time. If you haven't put in any time, you can't really say that you're a Wonder Woman fan.
If all you saw were these movies, no.
And if you don't know who Linda Carter is, you're not a Wonder Woman fan.
Yeah.
How could you not? Who doesn't know who Linda Carter is? Are there people out there that don't?
Any real true diehard Batman fan can say they're a Batman fan and they don't know who Adam West is?
Now I can.
No.
I want to say because you got people that are young.
Not, even if you die hard, you're gonna go and do the research.
Yeah.
First off. So let's just talk about that.
I want to say this. You may have heard the name Adam West may not ring in a new Batman fan's ears. Even after they've like been involved with Batman for a while. The name may come across, but they'll hear like how bad the show was compared to what their brain is at this time. And they may not look at that stuff. So
but they would still pull it up and just, if you are diehard, you have seen it or you have pulled it up and looked at it.
I don't consider myself a diehard Batman fan. Although out of the DC comics, Batman is my favorite comic or my favorite character out of DC comics. But the thing is, the only reason why I know Adam West is because I was watching it. Okay. Like if I didn't see Batman and Robin, if I didn't watch those shows or watch that movie, then I would not have known who Adam West was. And nor would I've actually tried to find out about him. I would have he'd have been a footnote in the history of Batman for me. So that's what it would have been if I didn't grow up with them. You feel me?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man.
I mean, I'm sure many of the newer fans don't know who Linda Carter
Then they
is.
should say I'm a new fan and not I'm a fan.
Well, you can't tell people what to say.
Well,
You're right, but I'm saying you can't. I don't know, man. You remember what I did?
who said that they were a fan that didn't know who Linda Carter?
This is the part where we start defining what's real versus what's fake according to our frame of our, I won't say our frame of mind, but from our frame of reference. From our frame of reference. So I'm going to use a different example. And like you look at music, there's music that our grandparents didn't like about our parents. And then as we start to express ourselves, there are people in my parents, demographic that didn't like ours. And now we are here in this place where we don't like what some of the younger generation has put out. And as a matter of fact, you and I have both called a lot of people's stuff trash. Okay. Yeah. And I still feel that way. But it's because I am looking at music from my frame of reference, which comes from a heavy, like there was always music playing in our house. My uncle and his friends were DJs, so, there was always music around. And so when you hear some of these newer things, and it's like no thought's been put into it, you begin to start realize that I am now like my parents, like my father before me, So, so when it comes to things like Batman and Wonder Woman and so on and so forth, we have to realize that we are looking at it from our frame of reference. Doesn't make it wrong. I'm just saying that from our perspective, you like you said, if you didn't know who Adam West was, then you can't call yourself a Batman fan, And then Jenna's like, well, these new generations, they may not know who Linda Carter is. So it is a generational thing.
So then you have to ask yourself, are you a fan or are you a new fan? Because a true fan, well, if you're a true fan, you're not a new fan. Aha, it's the difference.
I mean, anyone can be a fan.
I don't think that's fair.
I don't know.
I don't think it's fair.
You saying that you could be a fan without being a new fan is what you're saying.
I mean, you can't be a gatekeeper.
No, but then you can't not know. And because here's the problem with new fans. New fans would argue something that is not even sound.
Well, first of all, let's not confuse stupidity with new fandom. Okay. When I say stupidity, like if you say something that just is flat out not true because you saw it in a movie and turns out you didn't do your research and find out that that's something that the movie makers added to do whatever they were doing to the storyline, to me, that's like on the stupidity side. But just if you don't know all these intricacies about, the history of it, I don't need to declare myself as a new fan. It's not something that's required because who created the laws on fandom, So the thing is, when this generational gap that's starting to emerge, they're not going to know certain things. Just as, I consider myself a New York Knicks fan. There's a lot of things about the Knicks that I don't know that my fathers and, uncles know that I don't know. But they don't tell me that I'm less of a fan because I don't know that particular part of the history.
True.
And also, final note is that I could offer up that you, sir, have a certain, like you are an Omega Psi, which means that you had to learn the history of your fraternity in order to even cross. So the approach that you and your Line Brothers had was going to be very different than someone who was just a fan of a particular character. And so you're going to carry that approach into probably the rest of your life when you feel like you are connected to something.
Okay. All right. Point made.
I don't even know what we're arguing.
No, we're not. We're debating fans. The problem that I have is that
how did this even come up?
Hey Jenna, I'm sorry, Jenna. Me and T'Challa was someplace that we didn't mean to take you to. But I couldn't let it slide. I couldn't let it slide.
But we were talking about Wonder Woman fans. You know,
Right.
because you have some of these people who come in and they say certain things and they act a certain way, like they know all be all, and it's not that way. You know, and me and my man, you know, Dr. Law, we have ran into people like that before, where you know, people would say certain things and we were like, no, that's not true, and then they would have to go and search on Wikipedia, and then you know, now they have to eat crow. And it's like, I'm like, okay, the way you approach me was like, man, I know everything about this, and you know, no, young man, calm down. Like, I've been running with this since 1966, and even though I wasn't born in 1966, I made sure I went back and I pulled all this.
You caught up on your history.
I caught up on my history. You cannot say that you're a fan of certain things and not get caught up on your history. That's just my point. So Jenna, as far as your friends who didn't like it, they only didn't like it because they went into it looking at it with not the same eyes that you went into it looking at it with.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, are you guys a fan? Because if you're not a fan, you can't have that argument, that same argument with them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I guess I don't know.
Listen,
I remember after the first one thinking, oh, when it was over, now they understand why I love her so much. And I guess, you know, if you love something that much, you want to share it with the world. And this time I came out of there like with ear to ear smiles, thinking of absolutely nothing else and how much I loved it and how much everyone was going to absolutely love it. And I get home and everybody's crapping all over it nonstop. If I God forbid, found a boyfriend and I brought him to you and said, don't you love him? And you're like, no, that guy is a big jerk. That would break my heart.
You know, I think that there was this expectation that Wonder Woman created from the first one. I mean, the first one was epic, and I know it's like, you know, it's kind of like an origin story.
How was this one?
Well, this one is a completely different vibe. And I think the expectation was to be iconic as the first one was, especially because, I mean, let's face it, Wonder Woman had to basically save DC when it comes to their movies. So I think that they were looking for something that was as impactful and as iconic as the first one. This film is not that. This film is a fun film and I enjoyed it, but it's not that. And I think that that's what people were expecting, especially when you look at the fact that they were holding off on the release date for so long. So the longer you make me wait, the better it better be. You don't want
another Game of Thrones situation.
That wasn't the movie's fault that we had to wait.
I heard both of you speaking at the same time. So what did you guys say?
Jenna, go ahead.
I said that wasn't like the movie's fault that we had to wait. Talk to COVID.
Well, there's the aspect of COVID. Of course, it just happened as a result of the pandemic. However, it was still a choice that was made by movie makers to continue to delay it as long as they had. Because when was this movie supposed to be released? When was it supposed to come out?
Last year.
Well, I mean, it was what month though? Was it March, April? When was it supposed to come?
It was June or July.
It was June.
Okay.
All right, so it's supposed to come out in June.
I feel like it was June. Then they moved it to November, and then COVID. Then it got moved again.
Right. So when you do something like that, eventually people get annoyed and they're like, "Look, all right, already. Like, are you gonna keep? Are you? Eventually people get tired of that stuff." And so,
well, and before it finally came out, I heard that it was going to be pushed back again. And I'm like, "Geez, Louise."
Hey,
go ahead. If I can say this. First of all, it's a different movie. Any two movies is gonna be a different movie because it's a different tone. And
right, but you know what? If it was the same movie, everyone would have complained that it was the same movie.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what would have happened.
So we got a different movie with a different feel, a different tone. You know, take it for what it is. Just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Nobody don't want to take it, you know, for what it is. Everybody want to, oh, well, you know what I would have done. Well, if you would have done whatever, then you wouldn't have been sitting there talking about what you would have done. You would have went and did it. But you're not Patty Jenkins, so calm down. You know.
Right.
For all the people who don't like it, Jenna, and they said to you, hey, I don't like it, then hey, to each their own. That's just more Wonder Woman for you to love. It is what it is. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
I have had people that approach me. I was like, man, I didn't think that Black Panther was that great of a movie. And I'm like, we were clearly watching two different movies. First of all, every 15 minutes, they took something right out of the comics. Every 15 minutes. You know, just different stories. Okay. And then on top of that.
And there was a lot of stuff.
They took a tremendous amount of stuff out of the comics. You know,
I heard people complaining about her being Spider-Man.
Being what?
Lassoing lightning and acting like Spider-Man with her lasso.
I mean, the lightning thing with the lasso was probably a bit, you know, extra. But
it actually happened.
Listen,
if it happens in the comics, I got nothing to say about it.
Listen, it did, but here's the thing. I'm laughing because I'm like, her lasso and that lightning just made her that much more epic.
Right.
Because when have we seen anybody lasso lightning? And if you know the powers of her magic lasso, it can do stuff like that.
Sure.
I thought that part, I was very much okay with that part than I was with the golden armor.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I feel you on that one.
But I love the golden armor because, you know, when we see the golden armor, what is that Kingdom Come? She's in the golden armor, Jenna? Yeah, Kingdom Come. She's rocking the golden armor.
I have her hair somewhere. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I see it.
She's rocking the golden armor, you know, and she's doing her thing. So seeing that, I'm like, yo. But again, people are going to complain regardless of what. I want to talk about the return of the wishes. Now,
the what?
Max Lord became the stone, right?
Yeah.
Did he return his he could return his wishes because he wished for stuff?
Yes.
But what happened when he undo his initial wish? The stone didn't manifest itself back.
Everyone's. I think it's destroyed.
You think okay? So you think when he wished his ultimate wish back, he destroyed everything? The stone?
Or, I mean, there could be a stone still, but I highly doubt they'll ever revisit that again.
I find I have a feeling that, well, first of all, will they even return back to the storyline with the stone? Probably not, especially after the way it was received by the country. So I doubt that they'll return to this aspect of the storyline again. However, if they did, I find it hard to believe that an average mere mortal has the ability to destroy something as godlike as that stone was, you know. So when eventually I think that stone takes shape again once, you know, everything is restored back to balance.
Okay, here's a question for you. Cheetah seemed like she had got electrocuted, yeah? Diana held on to the water. She electrocuted her, but she didn't kill her. So what was that? Because it looked like she died at first.
Yeah, well, she had demigod powers.
Very good point. Very good point. Because she wished to be like, right, you can't kill Diana that way. So yeah, it's safe to say that Cheetah probably that she survives too.
She had Diana's powers, so they just knocked her out, and Diana brought her back up to the surface.
Do you remember what was the date that they had did? I'm
so bad with dates. You keep asking me to give you dates.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I think this. I want to say this was in July, maybe August. It was when they did the panel. Is that San Diego Comic-Con panel? It was the Wonder Woman panel.
Oh no! Are you talking about the DC fandom?
Yes, DC fandom. When you first saw Cheetah, you remember? And I spoke to you like seconds later. He's like, "Oh my God, I was crying. That was everything." Do you remember?
I was leery.
Do you remember what I said to you about Barbara Minerva is going to be kicking Diana's butt? You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes. How did you feel when she was wailing on her in the White House?
I mean, that's what she's supposed to do.
She is, but I was having like that, "Ooh, Jenna, I told you so" moment.
Of course she was gonna. I mean, that's the whole point of a villain, to kick your butt, and then when you're down, you come back up and get back up and kick their butt. Like, that's how the formula works. You gotta get your butt kicked before you can do the butt kicking.
Yeah. Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. When do you not?
We always see Hulk do the butt kicking until he fought Thanos, and then he got, decimated. But there's times where heroes don't really get their butt kicked.
Well, no. Okay, they don't always get their butt kicked, no. But at the end of a movie with the big bad villain, yes, they always get knocked down before they get up.
They do. Because that's what defines them, is them getting back up. But no, right. I love seeing her get beat. Because let's be honest, in the first movie, Ares didn't really whoop Diana like that. So to see Minerva like whooping her, I was like, oh my goodness, she's getting beat down. No, it was well executed, and seeing Minerva's face, like, and I get, what's the actress, Kristen Wiig?
Kristen Wiig.
She's a really great actress because she made me believe that she was Barbara Minerva. She was Cheetah.
I like the way they did. I like the way they did these subtle transitions with her to go from like being quirky and nerdy to being this like fine woman that has all this confidence all of a sudden. It wasn't all of a sudden. It was over a period of time. So I like the way they did that. Even the transition. I don't know if you guys paid attention.
I was like, is her hair growing? Like, yeah. Her hair got longer and longer.
As she got hotter, her hair got longer. It did. Yeah. But watching her, for instance, after she makes that wish and she walks out in the heels and the guy spills the water, a cat would behave the very same way. The way she jumped up on that chair. Yeah. That was very cat-like.
Yeah.
But you saw the transition of her and cats, like her becoming Cheetah. From the very first shoes that Diana was wearing, and she was like, "Ow," and that starting to take on the animal prints, the high heel pumps with the stones, and then the clothing, when she fights her in the White House, what she's wearing, to ultimately what she becomes in the end when she becomes this apex predator. The transition was beautifully executed. Yeah. No, I love it.
I would have liked more Cheetah time.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You don't think, first of all, we know a lot of people gave back wishes. And this one is for you, Jenna. Katana, maybe you could get on it. We know a lot of people gave.
When I told you?
No, this is something totally different.
You asked me and I explained it already.
Yes, but no, I'm about to go somewhere else with this.
Okay.
We saw people give back their wishes, right? We never saw Barbara gave back hers. But she still had Diana powers that she had within her. The people who, because not everybody gave back their wish. Some people are just too selfish to give back their wish. So do you think that there are people who didn't give back their wish?
I think, no, because I think when Maxwell Lord gave back his, it nullified everyone else's. So they didn't have a choice. That's why she's back to regular human form, because that apex predator part went away.
Okay.
But she could still have Diana's powers because she probably didn't give her wish back. But I don't think other people
Let me ask you a question. You don't...
Because she wished on the actual stone. There was only 2 people that wished on the stone, her and Diana.
No, 3. Max did as well.
Well, yes.
But he recanted and resent his wish.
Right.
Yes. I think it would make great storytelling for opening up the doorway in Warner Brothers / DCEU to bring in other villains. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody can say, because of this I became this, that's
Mm-hmm.
it's such a big doorway to bring in all these other people.
Yep.
I don't know. It's
like Flash does.
Exactly. You talking about like the what is it called?
I mean, everybody else got super speed
what
because
was the machine?
thing.
The accelerated. The particle accelerator. That's it. Yes, similar to that.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Part 3 is coming. It's confirmed that they're going to be doing part 3. And we know Patty Jenkins is going to be on it, and it's going to be filmed in. It's not going to be a period movie. It's going to be a current movie.
Right.
Okay.
Any predictions that you would want to see, Jenna?
I want to see Cersei.
You would want to see Cersei.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought of that. That's interesting. I didn't. I forgot all about Cersei.
And I want to see Cheetah back.
Okay. Katana, you have anything you would like to go with this?
Well, I mean, the fact that they're going to do a current movie, I would just want it to be epic as what we saw in the first film. Like, it has to be that level of like iconic power that the first one, beyond what the first one had, especially because the second one, no matter how much we like the story, it still didn't do well with amongst the masses. So the third installment has to blow you away.
I got you.
Well, Cersei could come back and give Cheetah her abilities back.
She can. If you introduce magic, on that scale in the third movie, there's so much you can do with that.
Right.
There's so much you can do. And if you bring in Cersei, though, I would love to see Zatanna. Open up that door. Give me that. Open up a doorway to bring in more characters.
Yeah.
More characters to become mainstream. Because Zatanna is what? A C character?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
who do you want?
Honestly, what is his name? He was a magician that ended up trying to take out Hippolyta in Themyscira. He ended up becoming that floating head spirit. What is his name?
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I cannot remember his name. And watch, when we're done, I'm going to remember it. Man, I can't remember. Drawing a blank. I would love to see him in the third movie. I would like, and again, because I'm thinking full on magic. That's where I'm at with that.
Okay.
I could, it's just me. You're gonna have a demigod or a goddess in this case, give me some magic. Level the playing field. I don't know. I don't know if I would want to see Barbara back. I mean, I think it would be great to bring her back. But I mean, you already been there, did that. Give me something.
There's so many other avenues to explore.
Yeah. It's like, you keep on giving me a Superman movie with Lex Luthor every time.
But that's because that's his main. I mean, that's like saying Batman can't have Joker.
But and again, you already give them to me. Why giving them to me over and over and over?
Right. When you look at every Batman eventually has to face the Joker, but the Nolan films, Joker was a one and done. It wasn't going to be this ongoing thing between him and Batman. It was going to be one and done.
Give me somebody new.
Yeah.
And when you give me somebody new, you open up the door for so much more rich storytelling.
Maybe it's because I don't think we got enough of her.
I know it's what you want. It's definitely what you want. And again, nothing wrong with that. I just would like to see somebody else in there because again, Wonder Woman have many foes.
Right.
You can't have a Flash without having a Mirror Master.
Right.
You can't have a Wonder Woman without having an Ares, but guess what? We already had an Ares. You can't have a Wonder Woman without having Cheetah. We already had a Cheetah.
We already had a Cheetah.
You know, make the third movie like it's in current day, and she have to leave and go back to Themyscira to save Themyscira.
I think that's what should happen.
Yeah. And again, I'm drawing a blank on this character's name, but he was a sorcerer. He's a warlock, and she had to. Matter of fact, they did in one of the Justice League animated shows. There was one where she went back to Themyscira with Shaira Hall Girl, and that guy, that guy. I would love to see. I have to fight him.
Yeah, I think she should go back. I think that would make people happy.
I would also,
although there is supposed to be an Amazon's movie as well.
I would also like to see Hera. Give me one of the gods. Why we haven't really seen the gods except in like a flashback still?
Mm-hmm.
Give me one of the gods, man. You know, show me when Zeus sent the lightning bolt down. Show her mom molding out of clay.
Right. Well, maybe that'll be in the Amazon's movie.
Maybe. I think it'll be a great setup. I love the fact that they also used the same young actress who played little kid Diana in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
They brought her back a little older, showing her entering into the games.
God, I thought she was so amazing. Like that girl, when she was crying, I'm like, oh my God, I totally remember being that
didn't it?
whiny little girl.
Gave you feelings, man.
That's just bratty.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I think I'm not aware of this young little actress. When she gets,
why isn't she in anything else?
But when she becomes older, mark my words, put it on your calendar now, and said to T'Challa,
watch out.
She's going to have range, and she's going to be an amazing actress. To be a kid at that age and can, I guess you can say, can project tears in that manner, in that sequence of acting at that age, shows acting chops. And that little girl is amazing. When she's sitting there crying and, you know, her mom, she's like, it's not fair. It's not fair. You know, her mom is like,
I totally was there.
It gave you feelings, man. Right. Especially if you are that kind of parent that is like saying to your kid, it's okay, you didn't win the trophy, but I'm gonna give you a trophy, a participation trophy.
You're like, no, you're not ready.
You're not ready.
You're not ready to win.
You know. No. And I remember when, you know, when my sons them were growing up, they played football and they got participation trophies, and I hated it. Yeah. And whenever we played pool when they got older, I never let them beat me. I'm not gonna give you a win just because you're my kid.
Right.
If you're gonna beat me, you're gonna earn this win. And now, if my kids then play me and they win, I know, you know, they have put in the work, they've put in the training, and they are that good. Same thing. You're not ready, and because you're not ready, it's okay. And again, that very lesson, because we started out with that lesson, you know, when we started out the cast, that lesson projected through her entire life, and it's a beautiful lesson. I personally felt that opening scene did it for me in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
After I watched that opening scene, I was done. I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because it was the message behind it. Katana, you have anything before we go?
No, man, I'm good.
Jenna, you got anything to go before we go?
No, I'm good.
Man, this was an interesting cast, guys. I enjoyed it. I love talking about Wonder Woman, and Jenna was so grateful to have you.
I'm gonna go watch it.
You're gonna go watch it. Okay, you do that. I actually went back and watched all of them, 1 and 2. Yeah. Before we started.
1 and 2.
And Katana was like, "Man, are you gonna do that with this?" And I did.
And I said, "I'm not doing that."
Yeah, you did. I did. I did it. I did it for the both of us.
Yep.
I wanted to watch it again today, but I had too much other things to do.
All right.
No, it was great. It was great. It was good having you in here, and we got to do it again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure having you back, Jenna.
Me.
All right, but for now, this is your boy Tchallabpp74 and my man
Keitanooo.
and our special guest.
Jenna Esposito.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great evening. We out.
Good evening.